I am Talibita Moses. Today I've chosen to talk about a very important aspect of the law, which relates to property. Property can be tangible or intangible. For instance, tangible property can be like a watch or a book or a pen. But intellectual property refers to creations of the mind, such as inventions, literary and artistic works, designs and symbols, names and images used in commerce. Commerce has something to do with the exchange of goods for services and pay, which you can also call trade. Intellectual property rights grant the owner of the work exclusive rights to exploit and benefit from his or her creation. It is important to protect intellectual property. Why? Because in protecting it, you provide an incentive to the innovators to be able to benefit from the results of their hard work. The legal protection of innovations encourages the commitment of additional resources for further innovation. The promotion and protection of intellectual property spurs economic growth, creates jobs, and enhances the quality and enjoyment of life. You, for instance, look at the musicians. The musicians creatively come up with lyrics that become appealing to the listeners, and these listeners come in droves, in big numbers, to also pay in appreciation of the creativity of the musician. So there are different forms of intellectual property, but the most common ones include copyright, trademarks, patent, utility models, industrial designs, and geographical identifications. Have you wondered why, for instance, there is sugar called Kakira sugar? This is the type of sugar which comes from Kachira. There is Mavale tea. This tea comes from a small village in Chenjojo now called Mavale, a small trading center. There is also Igara tea. This is, I think it comes from Fomaboshenyi. Now, this is attached to the locality from where the product is made. It is important that intellectual property is protected because, like I did say, the creator needs to benefit from his hard work. Intellectual property rights have been defined as ideas, inventions, and creative expressions based on which there is a public willingness to bestow the status of property. Intellectual property rights, which benefits from the acronym called IPR, provide certain exclusive rights to the inventors or creators of that property in order to enable them to recoup or to benefit commercial benefits from their creative efforts or reputation. There are several types of intellectual property, like as I've already enumerated, and these, of course, are all protected by the laws in Uganda. People have said, well, that who cares? But the laws and administrative procedures relating to intellectual property have their roots in Europe. The the trend of granting patents started in the 14th century. In comparison to other European countries, in some matters, England was technologically advanced and used to attract artisans from elsewhere on special terms. The first known copyrights appeared in Italy. Venice can be considered the cradle of intellectual property system, as more legal thinking in this area was done here. Laws and systems were made here for the first time in the world, and other countries followed in due course. Patent Act in India is more than 150 years old, and the inaugural one is the 1856 Act, which is based on the British patent system and it has provided the patent of 14 years, followed by numerous acts and amendments. Now, intellectual property, the study of intellectual property would benefit students or like persons who say are not employed to increase on their creativity, their ingenuity, and then, of course, create products that people can benefit from. The roles of undisclosed information in intellectual property. For instance, protection of undisclosed information is at least known to players of intellectual property rights and also least talked about, although it is perhaps the most important form of protection for industries. A case in point, Coca-Cola has what they call a trade secret. So does Minute Maid, so does Afia, because their products all could be mango flavored, but when they are tested, they taste different. And then, of course, they also have trade names. Trade names, like I've already enumerated, there's Afia, there's Minute Maid, and name them. So these trade on that because their clients or their consumers have over time appreciated the uniqueness in the product and then ultimately associate that uniqueness in the product to quality or a standard. So it is important that intellectual property is protected because in so doing, every other person will definitely benefit. And there's third party interests because the third party interests who benefit the third party interests are those people who will come, like I did say already, the consumers, those that will come and buy the product, those that will associate with the product, those that will market it, those that will, for instance, enjoy it. The case in point is the Uganda national anthem. The Uganda national anthem, of course, is a creature of, I think, Professor George William Kakoma, and he, of course, took government to court because he had not been paid for the rights of usage. And all Ugandans were singing his Uganda national anthem. And so when he died, he bequeathed his property in the anthem to his wife. And then his wife, of course, also pursued the case. And I think it was last year when the case was disposed of. That is, but then that argument was anchored on Article 26, which says non-deprivation of property. Everybody has a right to use their property, and if it's going to be denied them, then they ought to be compensated. Now, that compensation is a token of appreciation, but also to encourage any other persons who will come up with any like property to benefit from the same. Now, Uganda Registration Services Bureau is that one point of institutions that registers and recognizes and is charged with the responsibility of protecting intellectual property. Now, that intellectual property is broadly divided into the literal works, which include novels, um, Bible, or music. And then there's also industrial property. That type of property which is innovated to solve an industrial problem, and that industrial problem is supposed to correct the way or make work easier for people as they are carrying on the different endeavors in life.